Hi everybody. I know that today was quite a roller coaster. Hopefully most of you saw the video I put out this morning because I've been through enough of these plays to realize what exactly, well, no one can say exactly because, I mean, you can get a basic idea of what's going to happen in these plays, and 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing over and over again. There's always that case where it doesn't exactly go as planned. But with AVCT, I was pretty optimistic that after the initial sell-off, we would get a rebound rally. I want to caution you guys on several things during this video, so please pay close attention, pause it, rewatch it, take notes, grab yourself a pen and pencil if you need to, because I'm going to make some very important notes based on my experience with bankruptcy plays and how they're generally treated. And again, I'm going to use Revlon as a comparison as I did this morning. But guys, there's something that you need to realize. Revlon is a company that made a lot of money and was extremely popular. Everybody knew its name. You couldn't go into a CVS, Walgreens, whatever you have near you for a drugstore and not see Revlon signs in the makeup aisle. Even if you were a guy walking by, I'm sure you knew what Revlon was. Now, I personally don't use their products. I'm more of a brand name, but very little makeup person anyways, en natural, but whatever the case may be. When I do wear makeup, it's higher end, but I still knew what Revlon was and even knew what it was when I was a kid, right? Everybody knows what Revlon is. That is not the case with Candy or AVCT. So that's point number one. But point number two is going to come into play is that even though it's not the same thing, and even though they don't have the same assets, there will be a lot of volatility in this play, and it is likely, but not guaranteed, to play out in some ways as Revlon did. Guys, I do not expect it to run as wildly as Revlon did, but I do expect it to run. I want to make that perfectly clear. And I want you to know that if you choose to stay in this play, that of course you run the risk at any time of this going to absolutely nothing. And you need to understand this. So you need to weigh the odds of what is your risk tolerance right now? And what are you willing to hedge? Because I'm going to tell you how I think it's going to go down. But again, there's no guarantees. And I can't predict the future. I'm here just trying to give you through my experience what I expect to happen. But again, I cannot trade for you. I will never trade for you. I'll never tell you to buy. I will never tell you to sell. I'm not a financial advisor, guys. I'm as deeply saddened by what we found out this morning as far as the bankruptcy. Honestly, I was hoping that the news that we got for the halt when I initially heard of it was that we were getting a buyout, and then to see, the news call, then to see that it was a bankruptcy. I was beyond shocked because I was so confident. I even picked AVCT as my play of the week this week because I thought they were going to run it up on the warrants, which, guys, I still actually do think that that's coming, and was expecting an offering next week that would have raised them more funds. So why they didn't do that, I am so puzzled. And what are we paying these these huge salaries for to be finding a buyer? They've had months now. Why is it they can't lock in any sort of a deal? It's concerning, guys. Very, very concerning. And I'm going to be honest about that. There's a lot of rumors flying around, and some are from people that I highly respect. But I want you to be well aware of what my opinion is, and that doesn't mean it's right, but neither does anybody else's opinion that you're listening to mean that it's right or wrong, because nobody knows in the end. Nobody has a crystal ball. No one knows how this is going to play out, okay? All I can do is try to help you through my experience, but I can't promise that it's going to do what I talk about here and what I anticipate. So we're going to begin with the risks, and we're going to look at the initial bankruptcy filing, because I want to be clear that this is very, very, very high risk. And, guys, sometimes you have to think, is it better to take the money that I have and put it in another play to try to get my money back? Or is it better to continue to hold out, try to capture the run up and get out, knowing that there's a risk that this could also run down, or that it can be highly volatile and, you know, have lots of swings, which is what I'm expecting is volatility, to be honest. But anyways, let's start with risk management 101 and laying the facts on the line. And I'm going to, okay, so first of all, there is still some people that don't believe that this is true. Let me tell you, this is the 8K filing. You can go to, and I know that actually, I think that some people may not believe it's true because I went to NASDAQ and didn't actually see this up yet. And I don't know if there's something like a delay on one of my devices or something, because this has happened to me before. And then I can find it on another device. So guys, that's a possibility that you're having similar issues to that. But if you don't see it on NASDAQ, what you can do is you can go to American Virtual Cloud Technologies investor relation page, and you can pull up the filings and you can find the 8K for their bankruptcy filing. It is 100% true. This is not FUD. And that's exactly how I found it, because like I said, when I went to NASDAQ initially, I did not see it yet. And again, it could be a device issue or a delay or something, that it's not downloading the most current information. I don't know. I find it strange, but it is what it is. So I have to continue searching. So I went to American Virtual Cloud Technologies page, and this is what I get. And as you can see, this was filed January 11th today, and they knew about this, guys, though, January 6th, 2023, if you look at the date of the report. So, yeah, it really, really stinks, but apparently this was known ahead of time. Oh, hold on, I just want to see something. Okay, so warrants, each whole warrants exercisable at a price of $11.50. Interesting that they have that there, because there are warrants that come into play, guys, for $1.80, but that must be the public warrant, the AVCTW. Those are the public warrants. Okay. Sorry, that just caught my eye, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. All right. So it says on January 11th, AVCT filed a voluntary position under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. Now, Chapter 11, guys, is, if you were to compare a good bankruptcy and a bad bankruptcy, there is no good bankruptcy, but the better of the two is the Chapter 11. If you see Chapter 7, that's run fast. If you see Chapter 11, then there is a chance, okay? There's a chance of restructuring. There's a chance of selling off assets. There's things that could create value here. However, that being said, the value isn't what I'd like to see it at, to be very honest with you. It's not good, okay? But there is opportunity here. So don't confuse that with the fact that I'm saying there's not, because I see, let me be clear, I see opportunity here. And I'll get into that in a minute. But it says that the debtors will continue to operate their business as debtors in possession under the jurisdiction of the court. And in course of business, the debtors will have filed various first-day motions with the bankruptcy court requesting customary relief, including authority to pay employee wages and benefits that will enable the debtors to transition into Chapter 11 protection without material disruptions to their ordinary course of operations. So, guys, I'm telling you this because tomorrow they're having a court hearing. And that is the first opportunity we're going to have for a potential volatility play in one direction or the other. If anything bullish comes out of that hearing, then I expect that that is when they are going to try to run up the price to exercise those warrants that we have been talking about for this week that are exercisable at $1.80. Now, if they're going to pay $1.80 to exercise them, then you darn well better believe that they're going to run the price up higher than that in order to make it worth their while. Otherwise, what's the point of them using it? Okay, so I still think they're going to try to do that. That's where I see the volatility play in this. Again, there's no guarantees, but that's what I am banking on and why I have not sold my shares yet. And I am going to be selling my shares, guys, to be perfectly clear. This is not something I want to hold on to long term. I want to ride out the volatility on a run and sell out my shares then. Okay? The goal is now to try to either get as close to break even as possible or even be a little bit profitable here, but to try not to have to take an L, okay? Because a big chunk of us are losing right now, right? I was banking on this week to be good, but apparently we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it still is, but this is not good by any means. Be clear on that. Okay, so we all know that they hired Northland Capital Markets to advise the company in connection with a review of strategic alternatives. Now, guys, this is what I'm talking about. They've hired Northland Capital Markets a while back. Why haven't they done anything? The only thing that I can come up to is an answer that none of you are going to like hearing. If they had an opportunity, if they had a buyer, do you think that they would have gone this route? There's a lot of people talking, saying there's going to be a bidding war, this and that. I'm sorry. I don't think that that is going to happen. And I don't mean to upset the community, but I'm going to be honest, as I always am, and I'm going to get haters for it. But you'll see in the end that my integrity wins out, okay? Whether we like it or not, the reality of the situation is if they had a buyer, I don't think we'd be going down this path, and I think we would have had something already on the table lined up. They wouldn't have an offer and be going the bankruptcy route. The offer that they had in the past, well, guys, it's a different market right now. And apparently it wasn't up for renegotiations because otherwise we wouldn't be where we are right now. So let's be clear on that. If they had a buyer, do you really believe, and I want you to ask yourself this, that they would be filing Chapter 11? Because I don't think so. And supposedly, there's people of interest for certain parts. Well, my guess is those parts of the business that the offers were so low that they didn't want to accept them, okay? So, could this news bring buyers? Yes. Let's see who shows up in court tomorrow. It could be very interesting. Does perhaps a party of interest show up to try to negotiate something? It's possible, okay? Keep that in the back of your mind because I know that I think it's ENDPQ had a similar situation, and there was a lot of people that are interested in their drug. So if there's people interested in candy, perhaps this is screaming, I need to be bought. Perhaps they try to negotiate something with the company at this point. Again, I don't expect that negotiation to be favorable for AVCT and the shareholders. I expect it to be a take under, much like we saw, unfortunately, with CSSE and Redbox. So just a heads up that Redbox ran too, but it was a take under, okay? So it doesn't mean that you can't get a play out of this. But don't expect if you're going to hold long term that you're going to make money because you will lose your fun. And I'm being clear as clear can be. If you hold it too long, you're going to get smoked. So don't get greedy here. But in all of these plays so far, there have been runs, which is why I'm confident, I would say with 80% probability that we are going to see a run in AVCT still. Okay? Now, there's some other things that are on the table, though, that we'll discuss in a minute, but going back to this. So then they have Solid Capital Advisors to help them provide strategic and operating restructuring support services. Guys, to be honest with you, I feel like they've wasted a lot of money because so far, what have we seen them do for shareholders or to help put value in this company? So far, I see nothing but collecting a paycheck, but let's see what comes out in bankruptcy court. So the company determined that it's most beneficial to continue to review its strategic options, which may include a process to sell its assets in connection with the case. So I agree that they're going to try to sell their assets, and they're probably going to try to sell it to the best bidder. But again, don't expect them to be getting favorable options, because any company that's buying them knows the position they're in and knows that they're stuck, okay? So notice of delisting or failure to satisfy a continued listing rule. Please go back and watch my video this morning if you haven't already to know about that risk that exists, and have that on your radar as well, okay? And just so you know that once they're declared bankruptcy, they generally get delisted and the stock becomes an AVCTQ with a bankruptcy after it. And they generally delist the stock from the NASDAQ determines to delist them, and they no longer allow them to trade, and it goes to AVCT. It goes to AVCTQ. So beware that that's also a risk, and how fast is that going to occur? I honestly don't know. But you need to be aware of that, because it's very likely that that announcement could come, and let's hope it's not as early as tomorrow. Cautionary information regarding trading in the company's securities. So, holders of the okay, this is something I want to be very clear on. The company is making it very clear, so listen. Holders of the company's equity securities will likely be entitled to little or no recovery on their investment following the case, and recoveries to other stakeholders cannot be determined at this time. The company cautions trading in the company's security, given the pendency of the case, is highly speculative and poses substantial risks. Trading prices for the company's security may bear little or no relationship to the actual value realized, if any, by holders of the company's securities in the cases. All right, guys, that being said, please, please, please be advised that there is a chance here that this goes to zero and you have no value left. For those of you curious what happened with Revlon, you can go and look it up in OTC land. It's under REVQ or REVRQ. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I know it's one of those two things. I'm leaning towards it's REVRQ. For some reason, I think there's 5 letters in OTC. So look it up under that, and you will see that it has been basically taken to next to nothing, pennies, okay? So when will the NASDAQ determine to delist them is the question. Does it happen as early as tomorrow, or do they give them time to see what the court says? I honestly do not know. But I know that as of this date, the NASDAQ, the company had until February 20th to submit its plan to regain compliance with Listing Rule 5620 for not having a shareholders meeting, okay? So let me just bring up something else. One moment. So guys, tomorrow's court hearing, you can actually, if you write down this https // D as in Delta, E as in Echo, B as in Bravo, uscourts.zoom, I don't know if there's a zoomgov.com /meeting /register /lowercase v, capital J as in Juliet, capital, I think that's an I, TC -QR, capital T, capital M, J, capital H, 5P6W202, capital B, capital W, lowercase u, capital Y, capital E, lowercase v, capital W, lowercase b 9613, lowercase a, capital C, capital M. If you go to that site, you can register to watch the court hearing if that's something of interest to you. But you need to do it, I think, 2 hours prior to the hearing when it begins, okay? So anyways, they're going to have their first day hearings done tomorrow, guys, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So we should get more information following that court hearing. Now, this is something that I found in another article, but it's interesting for you to know. Bankruptcies can wipe out values for companies, but sometimes it can take months for the move to zero to happen, and traders often capitalize on the high volatility. Shares can often move on any positive news of restructuring, new loans, or plans to fend off a bankruptcy declaration. Okay, guys, so the news can send these stocks moving, which is why I'm telling you that there can be a lot of volatility. And like I said, provided that the NASDAQ doesn't come out and give notice that they are planning to delist them due to bankruptcy, then guys, I think that we can see some volatility still moving here. Okay. Now I would expect them to give some sort of notice, at least, a day or so, and not just immediately try to take away the ticker and send it to OTC land. But stranger things have happened. That being said, I'm pretty sure that there were several hearings with Revlon prior to them declaring it to bankruptcy, because I think they give them time to restructure and things like that. But again, guys, there are no guarantees, and it seems like depending on who, what, where, and where the money lies, they like to change the rules. So just be made aware of that. Do I think that there's an opportunity tomorrow after that hearing if anything positive comes out? Yes, and my reason behind it is because I truly believe that they still are going to try to get something for those 180 warrants. And trust me, if you go back and you look at the filings, the companies that invested in AVCT have lost a lot of money in this stock, guys. So they're going to want to get back something. And how are they going to do that? Because they're going to try to trap retail investors that don't know any better. So the only way that you can win at this trade is to be one step ahead of the game. Please keep that in mind, and best of luck to you trading this. Like I said, be careful and be cautious, and don't hold this longer than you should. Consider, possibly day trading it, or, at least swing trading it, or have proper stop losses in place, guys, just in case things don't go the way that you intend. Anyways, this is a horrible thing for all of us. I understand that, and I know that people have lost a lot of money. And sadly, this is why I've learned not to put all my eggs in one basket and only take, a position no bigger than 5 to 10% of my account in any security, especially in something that is highly speculative, because they're not yet profitable. We all learn through getting burnt, and it really stinks, but this is just another kick down, right? I at least thought we had until the end of the week, but disappointing to say the least. And I can't believe that, honestly, they've had all this time and they haven't found something, because there are a lot of companies that use candy, so what are they doing? That's the only thing I can ask them. What are they doing, or what is it they can't do to seem to get this right, that they can even sell something that should be a valuable asset to somebody? Guys, I almost forgot because I didn't screenshot it, but somewhere along the way I read that they valued the assets that they had between 10 and 50 million. Only 10 and 50 million. Now, the reason that matters is because right now there is 30 million shares plus of AVCT. So if it's only valued at between 10 and 30 million, then at a low end, it would be worth what? 30 cents and at a high end, $1. So that's another reason why. And remember that these often don't trade at their value. But that being said, if it goes to what its value is, it's worth very little. Okay. So that was my point in that I wanted you guys to be made aware of. And that's the company stating that that's what their value is. So please know I'm not pulling that out of thin air. And I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind when this stock is making runs on when to capitalize. Okay. All right. Thanks.